Hello everyone, I am Vyome Singh. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about data science, how to be data scientist with industry expert Aishwarya Das, who happen to be data scientist at IBM New York. Welcome Aishwarya. Aishwarya, could you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi everyone, this is Aishwarya. I'm a DTO alumni. I passed in 2015. I studied computer science over there. And then I came over to US to do my master's in computer science from New York University. And now I'm a data scientist with IBM.
Aishwarya, you have started your career as a data analyst and now you are working as a data scientist. So you are the best person to answer most frequently asked question. What is the difference between data analyst and data scientist?
So in my understanding, data analyst has a lot of overlap with what data scientists do. The only difference being data analyst would find the insights in the data, but they wouldn't create like necessarily a predictive modeling model, or they would use any kind of statistical models to predict the future, or to create something that could automate the predictions that we're trying to do with data science. That's where the data scientist comes in with their understanding of their different kinds of classification, regression, these kind of problems that they can create a model that can solve the going ahead. So it's not only about the insight but also about how do you tackle and solve the problem.
From the last 1 decade, we have seen there is a big hype, or we can say huge hype about machine learning, deep learning, and data scientists. So, which happen to be closely related to each other. As you have said, the predictive model, they are based on machine learning only, which are used in the data science. So, why these fields are so much in demand right now?
So in my understanding, machine learning and deep learning work has been going for quite a while now. But the recent advancements in the hardware tech space, where they have been able to provide TPUs and GPUs, so that you can do a lot of processing pretty fast, and that's the reason for why machine learning is now a big boom. Because earlier it would take a long time to train a model. Now it's been able to done within a few minutes or maybe even hours.
We have also seen like there is a huge hype about the machine learning and deep learning, but comparatively jobs are less. Like we can see the jobs for the software developer is quite high. After that, cloud computation is also in very demand for the job purpose. But for the machine learning, jobs are little less. Maybe because of the skills required for these job, or what are the reasons?
Um, it requires, so if you look at a typical bachelor's course, they cover
Mm,
every aspect of computer science, but they don't delve into a particular aspect of it. But to
mm.
get into, and if you look at a software developer role, it's a very generic role, which, over years, people become very specific. They become a front-end engineer, they become a back-end engineer. So they create into the specializations. But data science in itself is a specialization. So you need like a master's curriculum for it. And in India, we don't have that right now. It's still
Yes.
upcoming.
It's really upcoming, and the thing is, faculties are not available. Even though you can create a curriculum, but faculties are not available right now.
Right.
Industry persons, it requires industry person to teach if we want to develop a right curriculum according to the industry.
Right.
What do you suggest? How a BTech student can start his journey in data science field? What are prerequisites to learn data science?
I would suggest they start with picking one of the popular languages like Python or R to get into the programming aspect of data science. And then from a data science, they would first think about doing data analysis, because that's how you start your career in data science. You would first need to understand the database that you're getting. How do you query that database? How do you get that information? How do you find insights from there? Because this is all the necessary steps that you would do even if you're a data scientist. So I would recommend that they start from that. And once they understand those aspects, then they can delve into getting into machine learning or artificial intelligence, whichever way they want to get into.
As you have mentioned, Python and R.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge discussion which language should a student choose, because many students were keen to learn Python because of huge library, but most of the university provide the curriculum on R, but we have seen industry more inclined to Python. So what do you suggest? Which language should a person choose?
Uh, it doesn't make a difference, because I know you have also done computer science, so you would also recommend that if you do one language, it's very easy to transfer to the other because the
Yes.
concepts are pretty much the same. The only difference is Python gives you the flexibility that it has a lot of libraries in support, and the curriculums are based in R because there's a lot of academic research that is done in R. So in the industry, when you want to implement things, you want to use a library that can interact with other functionality, like you can create an API call or you can do things like that. So that's why Python becomes more used in the industry, and R is more like a statistical library. So that's why when people are doing academic research, they only tend to focus on the statistics parts of it. They're not thinking from an implementation point of view.
We have seen most of the student basically focus on the data structure and algorithm part for the competitive programming aspect as well as the placement aspects in the colleges like DTU, NSIT, and most of the Indian colleges. So, does they also play an important part in data science field?
Um, they do now in earlier it didn't, but now it does, because when you start about implementing a data science model, you need to understand what's the right data structure to use for all the variables and the data that you're storing in temporary variables, because at times that makes a lot of memory. It takes a lot of memory. If you're storing a lot of things, you could optimize that query so that you have a faster response time. So those things do make a difference. Now when you go into the aspect of deploying a model, like if you think about, okay, not only creating a model, but when you start deploying it, that's when it comes into the picture.
To analyze your data science model, also you need to familiar with the time complexity and everything. That's also required. So I
That
think
is
it,
true. That is true.
yes.
But when you start with like someone who's starting from bachelor's, they could ignore that for now. I would say, like, not think on the optimizing the query. First get your insights and then think of optimizing it, because getting the insights is a much bigger business value for the,
Okay.
yeah.
What all math do we need for data science? Means many people say you need to learn uh, algebra, stats, and all. So sometimes students just focus on the math and he waste 5 to 6 months on the math only, and after that he lose his motivation. So what do you suggest?
So, like you mentioned, algebra, probability, and stats. These are like the building blocks that they need to know as they delve into this career. But after they are comfortable with these, they need to also have a good understanding of calculus if they want to get into some things like deep learning. That's
Okay.
where not like calculus as in what we do at high school, in where you have integration, differentiation at multiple levels, but it's just that you understand how those work, that even if you have to do something in your head and if you have to make a decision, you understand, okay, this is how it is happening.
As a beginner, how much math a person should need to learn before starting a data science career?
I think the level that we do in our 12th grade in CBSE, that's good enough. If we are just not only we understand that really well,
Hmm.
because we cover topics like stats, we do cover probability, and in probability we do like Bayes theorem, so we cover all those important topics. um, and then we go ahead and when I talk about calculus, we do that as well. So I think the maths that we cover is pretty much good. There are always, you can do Fourier transforms and other stuff that you can read upon, and even regression theory,
Hmm.
which you do read upon in I remember I reading that in DTU when I was there. So it does happen that you read upon these things, but yeah, I think it's a good starting point at least.
Yes, it's a good starting point, and someone can skip some of their depth knowledge when he is starting his career in data science.
Right.
So there are many libraries supported by Python as well as R, which are mostly used in the data science. Which library a person should know by heart to start a career in data science?
um So the most popular ones being like pandas, NumPy. These are most data manipulation kind of libraries that you need to know. Well, there's another library called scikit-learn, which is the whole machine learning library in Python. I can't comment on R because I don't use R that often. I am more of a Python, but I know in R there is a dplyr library which helps you do a lot of data manipulations. Uh, That being said, there's also a library called matplotlib, pyplot. These are helpful when you're creating your visualizations, because when you have your insights, you need to create some kind of visual representation to show your insights.
Yes, yes, yes. As we are talking about data science, so what database a student need to learn? Is SQL or SQL he learn in his BTech is sufficient, or he need to have some brief idea about the no SQL, MySQL, and many more?
So SQL databases, like anything like a MySQL database or a SQL server, anything like what we learn at BTech, it's a good starting point, definitely, because you should be able to just query your data in, and then once you have your data in Python, you can just do anything with it. So that's a good starting point. But having a knowledge of a NoSQL database or having like a Hadoop or Hive tables in idea never hurts.
Okay. So as you have mentioned Hadoop, and there are many other tools like Tableau for visualization, and Power Business Intelligence tool, which is also provided by the IBM, your company. So is it possible we can skip these part, or it is just need to learn after some level of expertization, or it requires the basic knowledge at the time of the beginning of the data science career?
So Tableau or Power BI, like you mentioned, these tools are more data visualization tools.
Hmm.
So like I mentioned, when you create an insight, you need to show it to your leadership or to your end customer in a way that they understand. So visualizations always help. So you could either code it in Python, where you have everything, you have your data frames ready, and then you just create a matplotlib plot and you just show it. People use Tableau or Power BI because it helps the business users as well, who are not very like who are not very well versed in Python. To create a chart, they can actually just take a CSV dump of your data and then create a visualization report and show it to their leadership. So it helps people
Yes.
who are like a business analyst kind of a role people.
Okay.
So to answer your question, it's not necessary, but it always helps. And these tools, if you know one of the tools, it's easy to transfer your knowledge from one tool to the other. It's just about creating a one or two dashboards, and then you're like, okay, I know how this tool works.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Uh, what role machine learning and deep learning plays in the field of data science?
Oh, these are the key pillars. You
Yes.
need to know machine learning, and for sure, if you're in data science. Deep learning is still an upcoming, like I wouldn't say upcoming, it's right now in trending, but it's not like a necessity that a lot of people do know about deep learning. Like within space of the data science, there's also a topic called natural language processing, which is
Yes.
right now booming quite a lot. So there are these different aspects which you can get familiar with, but machine learning is like an essential tool that you need to know.
Okay. So, does it require the in-depth knowledge of machine learning, or a person should know? A person just need to know how to uh, work on scikit-learn, TensorFlow, etc.
So if you're just graduating out of your college, it would be great if you just understand the breadth of data science and breadth of machine learning, and have familiarity with a scikit-learn or a TensorFlow. But when you're starting your career from a BTech, because that's where the base expectation, I would say. But
Hmm.
once you're a master's graduate, or you have like 4 years of experience, then you would need to have a depth in something.
Yes. Then you need to create your own model on machine learning.
Exactly.
Okay. I have seen your profile. You have done around more than 50 or 100 courses on machine learning on Coursera, and some of courses from the IBM as well. So, what online courses would you suggest to a beginner who want to pursue his career in data science? I know you will refer the Coursera. Still, I want to know.
So I would say someone who's starting in a BTech capacity, they need to start with a course called Introduction to Machine Learning, which is offered by Stanford University, and the professor is Andrew Ng.
NJ.
Th- yeah, so that's like the course that everyone needs to do, I would recommend. There's another so that course actually goes into the depth of the maths behind the machine learning. So for every topic that you cover, they cover more of the mathematical aspect of it. The only downside to that is that since this course was created long back, it is in Octave and MATLAB, so which people don't use nowadays quite often. So I would say just go through the theory lectures for them. But when it comes to more application based, there is another course by Washington University. It's also called Introduction to Machine Learning. It's a series of specialization. That's a
Yes.
good course because they do a lot of implementation in Python in that course and in R. So
Okay.
it's a good way to just get familiar. The only downside to that is I don't prefer the theory lectures of it. I like the assignments.
Okay, okay. For Andrew and Jay, it's for theory, and the other course you have told us is for assignment.
Right.
Okay. So this is for the machine learning. And what about the data science part?
So if you get familiar with the machine learning, when it comes to data science, where it comes to data manipulations, that is something that we do a lot in our DTO curriculum anyhow. Because if you're doing string manipulation in whether you use C, Java, Python, it's string manipulation at the end of the day. If you're doing a regex, that is the same concept. So these concepts do remain the same. Um, there is courses on data analysis and data cleaning, which you find with Data Camp. That is another website that do offers those courses. But that is something that you just need to know the concept. Application is pretty simple in Python. So it's more about understanding those concepts. And the way you can understand this is by finding a structured course or just go through Data Camp, or you'll just understand them.
Okay, okay. A beginner really need to some hands-on project or experience, we can say, to be an expert or to be feel like he knows something. Because in theory, we don't know how much we are retaining. So what kind of project a beginner should do, and what are the most helpful side for data science?
So for projects, I would say they should start with these assignments because these are good, good ways to just get your hands dirty, as we say, and get understanding of how these things work. But then when you want to build projects, there's a site called Kaggle, which I would recommend people just go about and they can do projects from there. They do keep posting a lot of data science projects, data sets, and the people worldwide just go and submit their solutions and see how they're performing. And then after the end of the competition, you can go and see their notebook and see how they've done.
Kaggle is one of the best website for the data science, and there you can have the live projects, all the data sets you need, as well as you can learn from the expert, because all the people, or we can say all the experts submit their code and they allow you to use their code as well as read their code. So that is a huge help to learn. What do you suggest?
That's true.
Okay, I think we have covered most of the topic. At last, I want to summarize it by suggesting a roadmap for the data science, means how a student should start from something like Python, and how much he need to learn to say, I am good enough and now I can apply for a job.
So coming out of the BTech, what they need to do, like what we have summarized all over our this call is like, they start with getting familiar with Python. They start about doing the Andrew Ng course because then they start understanding the machine learning concepts. I know that isn't covered right now in our college. That's why I want to call it out that if they want a career in this, they need to do that. And then during that phase, they also need to do a few assignments like from the Washington, or if they can just do Kaggle datasets so that they get familiar with it and they can show it on their resume and on their GitHub profile. So once they can show these portfolios that, okay, this is what they have done, and you doing the Andrew Ng's course, they get the breadth of knowledge of the machine learning aspect, which gives them a good, practical as well as a theoretical understanding. And then they can end it up by having a few Kaggle projects, or they can, do some kind of a hackathons. I know there's a lot of hackathons that happen, but you just have to Google them. It's called datathons at times. So they can just do these different things just to end their profile saying, okay, I have the theoretical understanding. I have done a few assignments. I am comfortable with Python and with, the different aspects of a data science project that I need to do. And then they do a live couple of projects and they show it. That covers the breadth of everything.
How to write a great data science resume as a beginner?
The same way, like, showcase how, because you need to show Python or R that one of these languages. You need to showcase your projects. So the way I recommend is GitHub, where people have shown their projects. I have seen people who have given up their Kaggle handles as well. Like you give up your GitHub handles, you can give a Kaggle handle, because Kaggle live. If you participate in Kaggle's live competition, you are ranked against the different Kagglers around the world. So if you have a rank that you would like to show, that's great. That okay, I took part in this competition and I was like, oh, top 100 worldwide. That's a big achievement. Um, so it depends how, where you're active and how you want to show, because I remember in my college days my friends had shown their lead code profile where they wanted to show how much of lead code they had done when they're looking for software developer roles. So it depends on how you want to show it, but yeah, having a good set of projects, if you have a Kaggle profile, show that will just help you showcase every aspect to the interviewer, that okay, he knows data science.
As Aishwarya rightly mentioned about the GitHub as well as the your Kaggle profile, because before shortlisting anyone resume right now, any data science company or manager, just look into your GitHub profile, what you have done, what kind of code you have done, as well as your Kaggle profile. Just writing your project in a resume is not enough. It would be better you can make GitHub or Kaggle your resume. It can show how much work you have actually done.
That's correct.
Once a student have learned data science from some online resources, after that, how should anyone prepare for the interview? I believe data science interview procedure is totally different from usual software developer engineer interview.
So that is correct. So what I've noticed in here is, they talk about the different projects that you have done to ask for, because that's where they can get into the depths of understanding, okay, what are the different algorithms, because even data science, like computer science, or I would say software developer, has algorithms. So not everyone knows all the different algorithms. Someone knows some set of algorithms, someone knows something else. So someone knows graph theory, someone knows greedy search. So these are different topics that you know of. So that's similarly in data science. There is an aspect called, there's a topic called clustering, there's a topic called classification, regression. So depending on the kind of projects that you have done, people just start by asking about what you know in there, and then questions just follow based on that project. Okay, so you've done this, why have you done this, what was your thought process, why didn't you try something else? So that's how these interviews typically go about doing in the data science. People also do start their interviews by asking the breadth to understand, okay, if you understand the different aspects, but when they want to go into the depths, they start by looking into your project and then go into the depths of that.
What recruiters or hiring managers are looking for in a fresher who apply for data scientist?
Someone, at least I would say in IBM, I've noticed is someone who understands these different aspects, what they've written on their resume. Like, if you say you have built a model, you should understand why you have built it in a certain way. What's the understanding behind it? Why did you not do something else? If I asked you to build if you said you had built something for a housing price prediction, like, to predict the house prices, why did you do a certain way and not something else? What are the different considerations that you have made? Is so that just gives you an understanding. Okay, he or she is able to think through the problem, think through, because this is data science is a lot about problem solving. So if you and you should be able to understand the problem. If that is something that is missing, then it's a big challenge.
We have seen there is a high boom in the salary in the data scientist as well. That's why I think most of the audience are watching our video. So I want you, like, he's applying for the software developer most of the time, most of the student. Why should he also try for data scientist? What are the benefits or perks of being a data scientist?
So it's all about, I would say, if you like problem solving and if you have a curious mind where you like to, because like software developer, you build a tool that is out, which is great. You can see the end product pretty soon. For a data science, it takes time to understand the data. There's a lot of, you have to be a very curious person to understand, okay, why is this happening in a certain way? So if you are one of those kind of people, you should actually look for a career in data science, because the models that you create will end up helping the company that you're working for in a big way. If you're working for a non-profit, you can still do a lot of work in data science, because right now in the current generation, there's a lot of data that's being captured with all the devices that we have around
Yes.
us. So with all this data, there's a lot of scope for us to to gather insights about a person and then create a meaningful recommendation for them,
Yeah,
or a meaningful.
recommendation is a really a big thing right now. Most of the companies are basically earning profit because of recommendation only.
Right. So these are different implementations, right? So there's a recommendation engines, that is one of the most talked about topics right now from a data science perspective. The other thing right now is also clustering your people. So if I talk about, okay, I want to go and do a marketing campaign, what is the right target audience? What is the right way of
Yes,
going and targeting them? These are all data science problems.
just
There
like
are
YouTube does.
right. Who's the right target audience to show and go and show the ads?
Yes, like I was watching my profile on the Netflix, and suddenly I watched the profile of my wife on the Netflix. It was totally different things. I was like, I have never seen in the Netflix this. Why it
Right.
is not recommending it to me?
So that's what I'm saying. So these are different aspects. So that's why, if you have a curious mind, I would say, and you like problem solving, you should get into this.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you very much for your insight.
Likewise. Thank you for inviting me.
For audience, I just want to tell you, I teach him in 2012, I think, and after a long time, around 8 years, we have interacted on LinkedIn.
Yes.
It was
Thank you
nice
very
meeting you,
much.
Aishwarya.
Likewise.
If you like our channel, if you like our
Thank you,
content,
Ramesh.
please do like, share, and subscribe.